And so when you start to give more to people, you'll feel like you're worth more because you're a giver. You're not a taker. You're selfless. You're not selfish. And so that will help you to build your ability to work through your self-doubt, is because it's like, hey, I've already built myself up. I feel pretty good today, and I'm going to help other people. I'm going to put other people first today because I put me first at the very first hour of my day. And that was enough for me to feel fulfilled and to go out into this world and to supply goodness, to supply love, to supply positive thoughts, to supply happiness. And I'm telling you that you have the ability to do that, but are you willing to do that on a consistent basis because you're tired of feeling like crap? Are you tired of letting self-doubt run your life, ruin your life, and stopping you from reaching your full potential in your life and relationships? If so, today's episode is for you because we're going to be talking about the secret to stop doubting yourself. What is up, my dear friends, and welcome back to another episode of Honey, I'm Home. Today, we're going to be talking about, like I said, the secret to stop doubting yourself, and this episode is going to fulfill you because I'm going to give you the ideas of how do you develop a skill set that allows you to overcome self-doubt, but also what I have done in my own life that allows me to achieve a greater sense of self-fulfillment and confidence in my own life, because I think the opposite of self-doubt is self-confidence. And so if you're struggling with like just doubting your future, if you're struggling with doubting your future with relationships, finances, and business, and just direction and clarity, I think this podcast episode is going to help you today, and I appreciate you being here with me. I do not take this time lightly that I get to spend with you. You could be doing 100 other things, but yet you're tuning into the Honey, I'm Home podcast, and if you haven't tuned in a while, welcome back, and if you're new here, thank you for being here. I hope that today's episode serves you in some way, shape, or form. My name is Tylerjoestratton, and I, excuse me, am a relationship and emotional resilience coach, helping individuals navigate life's obstacles and helping them overcome the craziness of life by helping them build some emotional resilience in their life. So that, because here's the thing that I truly believe is that emotional resilience is the absolute most important ingredient that you need to begin to practice on a daily, weekly basis if you're going to achieve any amount of success in your life, relationships, or business. It doesn't matter if you're a leader of an organization, if you're a leader within your own home and relationship. If you are struggling in life, it's because you struggle with your emotional self, and this podcast is going to help you with that. Why? Because I have struggled emotionally for 28 years of my life, and it's time to take back our lives. It's time to enjoy life a little bit more, to find feelings of happiness and thankfulness, gratitude, and fulfillment. And we can experience that even in our darkest days, because I know that in my dark day, I have experienced that myself, and so I know that you can too, and this is part of the first step that you can take, is just tuning in on this. So if you're not subscribed to the podcast, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen or watch the podcast at, because I come out with weekly podcasts is my ideal goal. Last week I did miss, and to be fully transparent with you and all of you lovely listeners out there, I was just exhausted last week, and to be honest with you, it was so busy last week that I just didn't have time to record, and when I was going to record, something else came up, so I couldn't get out a podcast episode that week. So I do apologize for those of you that are looking for constant messaging and constant content that helps you to improve your life's quality. And I'm telling you what, today's a big topic. Today is a big topic where we're going to be talking about self-doubt. I think it's something that we all experience. It's not something that's ever going to go away. We're always going to doubt ourselves and our abilities. I know in my most recent endeavor, there's many times that I've doubted my own mind, skill set, and ability to perhaps succeed in an area of life. When I first got married, I doubted my ability to be a good husband. Why? Because I've never been a husband before. When I started helping building a media company, I've doubted my skill set when it came to building a media company. Why? Because I just never have built a media company. When I offered my first course and coaching program, I remember fighting through the many layers of self-doubt that held me back from doing it a lot sooner. And I think self-doubt is the very thing that's going to continue to hold you back in your life if you don't learn how to overcome it. So I'm going to help you understand a little bit about self-doubt and how to overcome it, build some confidence by improving your self-worth today. And like I said, my dear friend, if you find this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting, be sure to share it out with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends, and leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast at, because ultimately, my dear friends, that's how this podcast reaches more lives and more hearts and more homes, is because, simply put, it's with your help by sharing this out that we can continue to grow this audience and this podcast. And today I've had this intuitive thought that I feel like a lot of people are constantly doubting themselves. As the new year is upon us, in the next month and a half, we are going to start to hopefully take more control of our lives in 2025, making it a new year, a different year, a year of winning, a year of prosperity, fulfillment, happiness, love, excitement, joy, prosperity, whatever it is that you're after. And in order to achieve those ways of life, we need to overcome our self-doubt. And self-doubt, my friend, has ruined the quality of my life more so than anything else in my life, because self-doubt often leads to darker thoughts, negative thoughts, and puts us in a state of inactivity. We don't like to move. We procrastinate. We don't achieve a greater sense of happiness and fulfillment, because I believe that the only way that we can achieve a greater sense of happiness and fulfillment is in our creative ability to grow, learn, and move forward on a consistent basis. The more time that we sit around and do nothing but only think, the more time that we are going to find ourselves more angry, upset, anxious, nervous, scared, fearful, and so on. So how do you become less doubtful within yourself is a question that we need to ponder today. And one of the ways in which when I reflect upon my own life, how have I built some confidence? Well, first things first is, if you want to stop doubting yourself, I do believe that the first thing that you really need to understand is where self-doubt comes from. Self-doubt comes from your inability to maybe know or understand something, and it also comes from your inability to speak more kindly to yourself and empowering with self-talk. Listen, if you want to overcome self-doubt, you have to begin to practice basically your self-worth. And the way that your self-worth is improved is through self-talk. And there's a powerful book on self-talk. There's two books that I want to recommend to you today. The first book is Hung by the Tongue. It talks about the power of the tongue, basically the way that you speak to yourself. And a second book is Beyond Positive Thinking, a nonsense formula for getting the results that you want. And it basically teaches you how to think more positively. And I know thinking positively is very challenging to do for most people. It was challenging for me, and that's what stopped me from achieving a greater sense of happiness in my life and relationships. It stopped me from being able to feel more fulfilled, like I'm going to be someone worth something out there in this world, where my message finds people to help them change their lives. And so when you think about self-doubt, what are you currently doubting in your own life? Are you doubting your love life? Are you doubting the relationship that you have with yourself? Do you feel like you're maybe not enough? Maybe you don't feel lovable. Maybe you don't feel like you'll ever find happiness or fulfillment in your life because you just, once again, don't feel enough or lovable. And if so, those are pretty common human behavior or human thoughts that we all have to work through and face. Now, what I want to begin with is helping you understand that the best way to handle self-doubt is to not fight it, but to just observe and then release it. Your thoughts of self-doubt and confusion have no power in themselves unless you give them power. If you don't give them power by feeding into them, they will be totally harmless, and they will die because of a lack of attention. Self-doubt is only fueled by attention. Just like a fire is fueled by oxygen, if you suppress or you stop the fire from getting oxygen, it will slowly begin to burn out. And you got to think about self-doubt that way. You are fueling your self-doubt by the attention that you give to it through your self-talk. Self-talk, positive self-talk leads to a positive self-worth. Positive self-worth helps you to build the competence and confidence that you need. Competence meaning that because you do it a lot, you're confident in that area of your life, right? And so when you're struggling in life or in relationships, it's only because you're not feeling competent. You're not doing things to help you to elevate that area of your life. And that's on you. You've got to step up, own your life, and own the area that you find most difficult. And I know that that's hard to do because sometimes we don't have clarity on what to do. So we turn to social media, we turn to blogs, we turn to podcasts, and we turn to books, and we turn to people to help speak life into our own existence in a manner that helps us to be able to navigate the moments where we feel super uncertain and we don't have the competence, mindset, skill set, and ability to achieve the next level that we're trying to reach. Now, something that really helped me overcome self-doubt, the first big secret that I want to give away is self-doubt is absolutely formulated through the self-talk. So negative self-talk either improves or disempowers you. And most of the time, our self-talk is negative, and it's often repetitive, and we oftentimes have the same thoughts, which is why we have the same results that we have in our relationships and in our life, is because we are not changing the way that we're thinking about ourselves, because it's hard to. It's a muscle that we're not really familiar with. We're not used to trying to speak affirmations into our life. And if you're familiar with affirmations, I'm cool with affirmations, but realistically, do I think that they work? I don't think that they do, because it's sometimes hard for people to believe in what they're saying when the reality does not coexist in that moment. Meaning that, have you ever tried affirmations before? Have you ever just said, like, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm positive, I'm wealthy, and yet your reality, your current existence is actually the opposite of all of those things, and therefore the words that you speak in your own heart and your own mind are not things that you accept? Let me tell you something that's super helpful that I learned in this year in 2024. I learned that there's power in the word intentional. Being intentional. And what I mean by that, if you want me to be honest with you, the way that I've been able to defeat self-doubt is I've changed my affirmations to be, I intend to be more self-confident. I intend to overcome self-doubt. I intend that this life, the word intend, you will feel a little bit different about your affirmations, because truthfully, you're not lying to yourself, right? Affirmations can sometimes feel like a lie. Therefore, if you feel like you are lying to yourself, that means you don't believe in yourself or the words that you speak, which then can stop you from getting to the next level of happiness and fulfillment that you want to achieve in your life and relationships. And let me tell you something. When you start to say, like, I intend to be happy this year, I intend to be healthier this year, I intend to be happy now. My goal today is I intend it to be a life where I'm very present and very aware and very helpful. When you say the word intend, you can kind of believe that, because it is your intention. You do intend to have a good life. You do intend to be happy and healthy and positive and wealthy. That's your intention. So you believe in yourself. You believe in those moments. There's a subtle little feeling, if you allow yourself to tune into yourself, that can help you to defeat your self-doubt, because it's like, well, if you want to turn your mess into your message, or you want to find the love of your life after you felt like you lost the love of your life, well, then saying that I am in a happy and healthy relationship with the love of my life is not very believable when you're not currently in that relationship, right? Have you ever practiced that before? I remember when I was searching for the love of my life, so to say, before I found my wife. Ultimately, I remember just being trying to force myself to believe that I was in pursuit and I had the love of my life already, and that works a little bit, but really it's not as powerful and as strong as you saying that I intend to find the love of my life. I intend to find the love. I believe that I will find the love of my life. If you start to say I believe or I intend, I promise you that the positive affirmations that you're going to use will help you to overcome self-defeat. And when I am in face of an obstacle of uncertainty and unknowingness, I oftentimes stop myself and I'm just like, hey, it's okay. I'm not supposed to be super certain. This is new territory. This is a new area. This is a new relationship. This is a new obstacle, and I'm not familiar with it. And it's not that you doubt yourself, because you just haven't spent enough time in solitude and silence to think through what you've already overcome and gone through to get you to this point. And so The first secret is change your self-talk. If you're struggling with your self-talk and your affirmations are not working, it's ultimately because you don't believe in your affirmations. And so that little switch from I am to I intend to can be significant in your personal belief towards yourself. So that's something that I want you to play around with, to think about. Just think about it. No pressure, but it's just like, hey, think about what that means to you and start to write, I intend to, my intention is to do X, Y, or Z. And that will help you to overcome it, because anytime I face a project or I face a new obstacle, I oftentimes doubt myself and my ability to figure things out. But let me tell you, the main ingredient, the main secret that you need to catch on to is the only way to overcome self-doubt is in action. So you have to take proper action. Actually, you just have to take action, because then you'll eventually find the proper action that will actually help you to overcome the very obstacle that you're currently facing. And the obstacle that you're currently facing is you're doubting yourself in a certain area of your life, whether it be in your life, finances, maybe relationships, maybe your goals and dreams and desires, your purpose. You're trying to figure out who you are, and you're like, I don't know how to figure out who I am. I don't really know if I'll ever figure that out. I'll never find the thing that I absolutely love and feel like my life's purpose is all about. And that's okay, because I've experienced that too. And we all do. The more people that I coach and spend time with, I've realized that nobody's got it figured out. I've realized that you just do. You just, like the Nike phrase, just do it. I think there's a lot of power in that phrase, just do it. Sometimes you do just have to do it. And so to defeat self-doubt, you got to understand what the opposite of self-doubt is, which is self-worth and confidence. So how do you build self-worth and confidence? Well, you got to understand self-worth. So how do you build self-worth? So my course, Happiness After Heartbreak, is a course designed to help you to build some emotional resilience. It's designed to help you to win from within. It's designed to help you gain the mind, body, and skill set that you need. So all of the skills that you need to manage your emotions, regulate them, let them go, win from within, meaning build back a better and healthier and happier relationship with yourself, so that you're more confident, and create a hope-filled future, a future that excites you. And you can find that course specifically at happyheartacademy.com/moving on, or you can go to happyheartacademy.com and scroll over to the slide that says courses, and then you can find yourself in one of those programs. Invest into yourself, because if you're struggling in a specific area, you need to seek out help. But let me tell you something. If you're struggling with self-worth, it's because you don't understand where your worth comes from. And in my mind, there's three areas in your life where worth comes from. Number one, the first place I think is innate worth. And then the second place is your earned worth. And then your third place is your shared worth. And let me talk about this for a moment, because I don't think that you probably have figured this out yet. But there's this innate worth, right? It's your belief that you've won the lottery of life, that God created you. And you won. Like, if you don't believe in God, and then I need you to believe in the idea that you had the opportunity to be anything else in this world that's living. It could be a plant, it could be a bug, it could be a tree, it could be anything that's living. But no, you won the lottery of life. You're not some deer on the side of the road without consciousness. No, you are a conscious human being. I believe that you won life's golden ticket that allows you to experience life fully, and it's tough when I say fully, because that means that there are levels to life. There's the ups and downs of life, like a heartbeat, right? And so your innate worth comes from your ability to believe that you won the lottery of life. Like, I believe that I have worth in this world because I was given life, and I won. I wasn't born as anything other than what I am, and I am a human being going after a greater essence and quality of life, because at the end of the day, I think that's the only thing that we want. Life is simple because we want health and happiness. That's it. And so now, how do you find health and how do you find happiness? Well, each of our journeys can be a little bit different. Happiness is something that's stemmed from within, and health is something that is taken care of from within as well. But I want you to understand that there's an innate worth that you feel like, is the world, is God, is the universe working for you or against you? And that takes me back to a place in time in my life where I remember that I was out in the backwoods of my father's house, and in those woods, I remember just contemplating, like, man, life is just after me. It's not working for me, it's working against me. Everything that could happen to me has happened to me, not for me. And it was really challenging, because I felt like there was no way out of the misery, hopelessness, feelings of anger, confusion, depression, suicidal thoughts that just stopped me from believing that I could achieve a happier quality of life. And I started to look around in the woods, and I started to think differently. I don't know where this thought came from, but this was prior to my personal development kind of discovery of like just diving deep into personal development. I looked around and I realized that the trees and the birds, the bees, the grass, everything living around me was free flowing and taken care of. Everything around me was. But yet I felt like I wasn't. But aren't I greater than the birds and the bees and the trees and the water and the streams and the rock and aren't I greater than that? And if I am greater than that, then why don't I feel like I'm being taken care of? Well, it's ultimately because of the way I saw things. So understand that you've got to work on your belief toward your innate worth. Do you believe that life is here working for you or working against you? I believe life is actually working for me. I believe every obstacle is an obstacle for a reason for me to grow, because the greatest fulfillment comes from our ability to grow. I've heard a quote multiple times. I think it's by Tony Robbins. He says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I felt like death. Why? Because I wasn't growing in any area of my life. I wasn't growing mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, relationally. I wasn't growing. Everything was dying. I remember my health. I was in and out of hospitals constantly. I remember my mentality was weak because I lost the love of my sport. I lost the love of my relationship sucked because I lost the love of my life. I remember my finances sucked because I was bound to my parents' finances and not my own because I wasn't of age. And I just questioned a lot of things. I'm like, man, this life is hard. Life is hard. And I learned that at a young age. And it hasn't been any easier, but it's been my mindset of emotional resilience, being emotionally a resilient individual, meaning that I'm not going to allow life's obstacles stop me from reaching my ultimate future, my ultimate goal, which is what? Well, that's something I will share with you on another time, because it's very sacred to me what I want to do with my life and who I want to do it for and how I want to achieve a greater quality of life. And ultimately, you got to understand that your self-worth comes from your innate worth. The second area of life where a lot of people focus in on for their worth, if you're struggling with self-doubt, is your worth. A greater sense of self-worth comes from your earned worth. Now, what does earned worth mean? Well, it's specifically meaning that it's in your output. Things that you do on a daily basis, you feel like you are worth something, right? And sometimes this can be really good if you have a really high, great paying job, because you're like, oh, well, my company tells me what I'm worth. And sometimes I remember when I was working at GNC, it's a general nutrition store, or whatever it stands for, GNC, which is basically a health and wellness supplement store. I remember my worth was only like $7.25 back in 2015, or when 2014, 15, 16, somewhere around there. And I was like, well, my earned worth comes from my doing, and I didn't want myself to attach my own earned worth to the amount I was making, but in the daily way that I would show up as my identity and my character. So earned worth comes from the very things that you do in life. And oftentimes some people are struggling to have earned worth simply because they're not doing enough. They're actually just going through the day, not really feeling the day, sensing the day, experiencing the day, being challenged by the day. They have habits and routines that are causing them to feel shallow and not alive. And it's like, well, I just go to work and I come home, watch the football game, and go to bed and repeat it, right? And therefore you feel like you're struggling in your earned worth. And then that's where I begin to focus. Is I felt like worth was something I had to earn. So I had to do something with my life and change my life in order to feel like I was worth this life. This life was worth living. I had to change my mindset. I had to change what I was thinking on a daily, and I had to change what I was doing. And I wanted my life to have more purpose. So I created my purpose. I didn't wait for purpose to fall onto me. I just said, listen, I suffered deeply, a lot of pain, a lot of anxiousness, a lot of anger, a lot of hurt, a lot of just a lot of emotional pain. And I just didn't want other people to go through that. I'm like, man, oh man, if someone else is going through that, I wish I could help them. So I started to. And then my worth became, earned. I started to earn it by the way that I positively showed up on a daily basis. I was more joyful. I was more enthusiastic. I was more funny. I was more hopeful. I was more my spirit, my identity, my character became more contagious, and people just liked being around me, and I earned worth through that by what I was doing. So maybe you need to practice on your innate worth and just understanding that your presence of being here on this earth and you won at the game of life can oftentimes lead you to a greater sense of fulfillment and self-worth overcoming. It's like, hey, I was given this obstacle. I was given this challenge. I was given this heartbreak. Why? So that I could grow. Why? It's because I know that growth equals fulfillment. I have to challenge myself. That is in your mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. What I mean by that is like your entire being is going to be challenged. Your every thought, your belief, your skills, your character, your identity, your values, your morals, your ethics, all of those things will be challenged in the moments of struggle and hardship. And I'm telling you that you have to earn your worth. And how do you earn it? It's by showing up more congruently toward the vision that you've set for yourself by becoming a greater version of yourself. Meaning that maybe where you're struggling right now is you just don't know who you want to be, what you want to become, what you want your life to look like. And therefore, you're just kind of floating around in the sea of life. And you're just like kind of casted away from feeling more fulfilled in your life and relationships because you don't have a vision for yourself. So maybe you got to practice and set down this weekend and maybe sit in some silence and solitude and just find a vision for yourself that hopefully inspires you to be better, to be a greater lover, to be happier, healthier, more positive, wealthier, whatever it is, right? That you really want. Maybe it's you just want to feel loved. Well, let me tell you something. Love isn't something that you just receive, but it's something that you give to yourself. And so you've got to practice maybe some self-love practices, which once again, my course at happyheartacademy.com it teaches you how to begin to work through loving yourself on a deeper level so that you don't have to continue to prove yourself to other people in order to receive the love that you want to receive from others. So that's definitely something that's out there for you. Listen, this is your new self. This is your new year. This is 2025 is right around the corner. I'm telling you, the best way to win in the new year is to continue to invest in yourself. And your last place that I think worth really comes from is from your shared worth. And what is shared worth? It's what you do for other people, right? It's like how people value you because you've developed some skills, you've developed you've developed an identity, you've developed a greater essence of who you are. It's the way that you show up for other people. It's like, are you loving? Are you joyful? Are you positive? Are you annoying? Are you selfish? Are you selfless? Are you, these things, the way that I've learned to develop a greater sense of self-worth is by putting other people before myself, but understand that I can only put other people before myself because I have won the morning. I spent an hour every morning working on my mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, meaning I move my body. I stretch it out. I move it. I work it out. I go for a walk. I meditate. I read some positive books or the Bible, and I sit in gratitude, and I allow myself to connect with God, and I fill my cup up so that I can give away what I have within me, right? And so when you start to give more to people, you'll feel like you're worth more because you're a giver. You're not a taker. You're selfless. You're not selfish. And so that will help you to build your ability to work through your self-doubt, is because it's like, hey, I've already built myself up. I feel pretty good today, and I'm going to help other people. I'm going to put other people first today because I put me first at the very first hour of my day. And that was enough for me to feel fulfilled and to go out into this world and to supply goodness, to supply love, to supply positive thoughts, to supply happiness. And I'm telling you that you have the ability to do that, but are you willing to do that on a consistent basis because you're tired of feeling like crap? Listen, if you're doubting yourself, it's because you're not taking enough action. You don't need to know the next step. You just need to take it. You just got to do it. There is so much that I don't know in life. The more that I know, the more I realize I don't know. And the secret that you need to implement into your life is you just got to start doing. The secret to overcoming self-doubt is by positive self-talk, and I talked a little bit about that. It's no more that you're going to speak words into you that you don't believe, but you're going to use the word I intend, or it's my intention, or I believe that I can, I will, or I must do what I need to do in order to feel better. You're also then going to start to develop your self-worth by understanding that you have worth just by being here. You have won the lottery of life. You're going to build and overcome self-doubt because you're going to have earned worth. You know what you're worth because of the skill set that you are learning, the skill set that you currently have, the gift that you have. Then you're going to have shared worth as well. You're going to overcome self-doubt with your shared worth. And what I mean by that is you're going to start focusing on helping more people in any way possible because you're out there. I'm telling you, when the suffering stops, the self-doubt stops when you try to think about other people more than you think about yourself. And so you, my dear friend, have the ability to win from within. You have the ability to overcome any obstacle that is currently stopping you from achieving the next level of happiness in your life, your relationships, your business, your finances, your health, wherever you're currently struggling, if you're willing to act enough times over and over again. And like I said, you don't always have to understand what you're doing. You just got to go do it. And then in the doing, you will learn what you need to actually do. But you're not going to know what to do prior to doing it because you never did it. So you're going to have a little bit of self-doubt. Because let me tell you something. Another way to allow self-doubt to just diminish, the biggest, baddest, most powerful secret out there. I'm not trying to overemphasize that, but the truth is like you got to stop giving your self-doubt fuel. You got to stop giving yourself doubt intentional thoughts. Just release them. Be like, oh, yeah, I don't really feel competent because I haven't done this before, but that's nothing out of the ordinary. So I'm not going to beat myself up. I just know that I can figure it out. I could Google, I can chat GPT, I can read a book, I can listen to a podcast, I can get a coach, I can find someone to help me. But let me tell you, you have the ability to overcome self-doubt if you want to. And the two resources that I want to give to you today, two books in particular, is, like I said earlier, Hung by the Tongue. It's a very short book, very short read. You just learn the power of your tongue. And then Beyond Positive Thinking by Dr. Robert Anthony, author of 1 million best-selling books. I'm telling you what, a powerful, powerful book that is. And I would recommend you study the heck out of it. But let me tell you, my dear friend, that self-doubt is normal. Self-doubt is needed because it will require you to level up. And I believe that you are a high performer. I believe that you are a doer. I believe that you want a greater quality of life because you come to the podcast on a weekly and regular basis. And with that being said, believe in yourself. How do you believe in yourself? By doing more. So go out there and do a little bit more. And once again, my friends, if you're struggling with self-love and confidence, if you're struggling to understand how to become more emotionally resilient, if you're struggling to allow yourself to process and move on from the past pain, there's a free masterclass that you can take over at happyheartacademy.com/moving on. And if you found this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting, my dear friends, be sure to share it out with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends and, let them know that you're thinking of them. Let them know, like, I don't know where you're at, but listen, I think this podcast would help you. I mean, that's what encourages other people to grow. Listen, this world, each individual is meant to run their own path and to grow, and you can help them do that by sharing out this podcast. And if you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast at, that would be super helpful. And I want to start reading off the podcast, the podcast review, and give you a shout out. So once again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at TylerJoestratton. Until next time, my dear friends, my name is TylerJoestratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home.